Are you sick of not hitting the numbers you're supposed to hit, making the money you want to make? Door-to-Door is a professional collaboration to up-level and bring honor and dignity to direct sales. I could train all day on how to sell, but like watching Spencer, he's only been here a short amount of time, like your salesmanship, like you hit the points. It was like amazing.
And that line you used, was that like halfway through the like consultation, that like after he was being pretty obstinate, or is that something that you like say at the beginning of all your visits? Because that seems pretty powerful, like that acknowledging that you are the teacher and then like putting themselves into the student role.
Yeah, normally I do that in my pre-frame. Even when you said something that overcame his objection, he wasn't taking it because he hadn't agreed to letting you teach him.
I like the polka dot one. It's pretty solid.
I like the other one.
It's a conversation starter, dude. Icebreaker. Because the second they look down, they're like, dude, your socks. You're like, I know.
People aren't going to want to come out to the meter. How's another way we can break their pattern?
Talk about the rain. Feel like it's like mystifying. You're like, you want us to mystify your house? I don't know. I'm just kidding. Makes no sense. But just be different. Like, use it as a conversation starter. So I like just the pattern, just like, hey man, obviously we wouldn't be wasting our time out in the rain if we didn't have something legit.
Okay.
Look at that little ADT. Too bad I'm out here selling solar. Wednesday, selling roofs. And Friday, selling more solar in Rhode Island. Let's see what these guys got to say. A lot of people ask, like, what do you do with doorbell cameras, you know? Like, do you knock up? Like, a lot of times I won't even knock the doorbell cam. I'll just, like, knock. They can't really, they don't think to go to their phone and be like, who is it? You know, they have to come to the door.
I'm going to knock it, then ring it, and knock it again.
Love it. A lot of people ask, like, where do you stand, right? So, I'm the type that's like, the door opens here, this way. I'm gonna stand like here, but then they got the storm door. So what do you do when there's no, like when they don't open that storm door? Your first 30 seconds, I don't know if you paid attention, but I'm always trying to point out something I can relate to them. Like, hey, like I noticed your little thing. Or it's like, look at this cool wreath. Did you leave that up from Easter? Or, you know, I pay attention to the flags. You know, this is probably an older person. There's a lot of older people in this neighborhood. You know, they do their yard. They're well trimmed. So I'm kind of prepping myself for like older person mode, right? What are the jokes the older people like? You know, like that last one, it was like, is it your dog or you that hate door-to-door people more? Like, you know, and she laughs and it lightens them up. So just make sure you're doing things to like lighten the mood, because if you're that dry door-to-door guy, you're just the same guy as everybody else. So just don't be that same guy. You know what I mean? And people are like, oh, I can't knock in the rain. Put a coat on, you dink. We got this like, it's weird. They got like a front porch, but no like sidewalk. Look at that. It's like, what do you walk off to? Oh shoot, it's muddy. It's a nice little Yukon. We're gonna go close this one?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Dude, these are nice houses. You gotta deal with the dog. Use that as like your icebreaker. Then when you knock, you ring the doorbell first, but don't assume the doorbells work. You always gotta knock after. So if they don't answer, their dog is technically their doorbell right now, but now you got a gatekeeper. Watch this. Watch how I handle the kid. If the kid just answers, watch this. It's alright, man. You can go grab her. Just go grab her. I know she's home. Just go grab her. It's important. It's really important. It's about the utility and the light bill. It's super important. Go grab her. Straight up trained assassin. See, he tried to get me. I don't lose as a 4-year-old. Come on. Country knocking. Look at this. You just kind of walk up, knock it. Sometimes you just gotta pull up like right in their driveway. You know what I mean? Amazing. There's some fire one-liners in that. Fire one-liners. So these are really high. What that means is I'm gonna save you a lot of money.
Well, I was pregnant.
Well,
No, it wasn't. I was nursing.
I don't like it hot. I'm sweaty. I hated being
I don't.
sticky and sweaty. You know what I can do is help you out with the Eco-Bee. We do an energy audit where we'll check like window ducts and we'll check like attic duct work and insulation, all that kind of stuff. If you guys qualify, we help with like a lot of energy upgrades. And one thing is the Eco-Bee, which has little sensors you can put in different rooms. So you can put one in the basement, one in the main. So it's measuring the temperature in all sorts of areas.
Okay.
So it's not just like that one spot where it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's some cool solutions that we kind of come help you with. Fun little tip on area management that I've been experimenting with. So you've got like, and it's been interesting. I just did a podcast with Bryce Jones. You'll see it in a minute, but basically talk about like peppering your area in solar. So let's say you have a neighborhood where you go get a sale. Well, then you get like 1 or 2 sales on that street, and then you leave it. Once you sold 1 or 2 deals, leave that street. Don't knock any more doors on that street. And then what you end up doing is you end up waiting till that deal gets installed, and then going back, those 2 deals get installed, then going back and selling that. And, maybe sell 3 or 4 more on that street, and then kind of leave it alone for a minute, and then go back in a month or 2 once those are installed. So you've kind of played this game of like, knock a couple doors here, knock a couple doors here, knock a couple doors here, and then kind of circle back around, and you really go slow through your neighborhood. So maybe you have 10, 15 streets, but you know how to like really pepper them. So there's an element of your capacity to be the entertainer comboed with the sell. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where your personality isn't so much entertainer, that means you need to be much more bulldog. So like your selling style has to be a little bit more like, I'm the authority, I'll move it as I move it, you'll listen to me because I can catch your attention through my authority. Where me, I'm like, I can drag them out a little longer because it's like, I'm the comedian, and like, you're gonna encore me just because you enjoy the conversation.
I know.
Does that make sense? Where they weren't like sitting there like, ooh, like, ha, ha. There wasn't this natural, like, I'm having so much fun, but that's totally fine. Which is totally fine. Like, be you. Don't try to pretend to be me. I draw this line. I'm like, okay, so you have a friend zone, and then like the deal zone, like too salesy, and then there's a line in the middle, right? You want to ride the line in the middle. You never want to go too far on the friend zone. Like, I'm here to do business, and you need to be the guy to do business. But yeah, I care about your life and your kids, but at the end of the day, I'm never going to talk to you again. So it's like, which group would you be part of? Would you be more the one that's like, yeah, the future of technology, or the one that's like, ooh, these things are the ugliest things on the planet? And you kind of like, almost like qualified them, which I thought was a kind of a cool way. I sped up my sell by picking the important pieces of my sell, and I took the fluff out. You know what I mean? There's pieces that I'm like, I don't need to spend 10 minutes on my pre-frame. I could spend 4 minutes on my pre-frame and still accomplish the same thing.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And then I can use that 6 minutes longer in my close, which is probably more, you know what I mean? If you could have had another 5 to 10 minutes in there, that's a deal. But you wasted that 5 to 10 minutes in fluff somewhere else.
See what I mean? See that.
They only had a tolerance of this much time. And you said, I'm going to waste that time with some fluff and some lulling here.
And so the overlord would have not been as much of a problem. Maybe.
Exactly. The lady at the end.
I take a long time with people who already know and are already interested in solar.
Those are the people you should...
Then that's easy to do it.
So it's checking for ecology is the word. It's what it means is you're saying, okay, do we get each other? So it's check. It's like, are you following? Good. Moving on. Like, it's you have to check. Are they in check with me? Like, are you with me? Or are you like in the clouds, like, who knows what we're doing? So think of tone as like a wave, right? And you have moments of like, yeah, enthusiasm. Then you have moments of like, you know what's going on, man? Like, it's kind of that curious, like, oh,
draw you in.
You're like, interesting. Like, tell me more about that. You're like the counselor, and then sometimes it's like, dude, you hear about that? Like, let me. And then it's like this, boom, I'm attacker. And then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. You're right. I wouldn't have ever known that. And you play the dumb counselor questioning, right? So you're playing this roller coaster of tones and emotions. You create a mirror for them as much as they create a mirror for you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And so we all just kind of like...
You all just, everything deflated in that whole room.
Yep.
Exactly. Everybody's a deflated balloon in there. You can raise their energetic level by your enthusiasm, energy, and your passion. They automatically want to raise to mirror you.
No, yeah, I understand.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
At DDECon, I have a guy who wrote a book on the power of storytelling, and I purposely went out for this guy to be a keynote because that's what we are. It's like his whole books, his whole speeches are all on storytelling. And that's the emotional certainty that you're going to create with these people.
Right.
You need to always be selling. Does that make sense? Like, always be selling them. Always be putting in plugs. And you even said, you're like, that's why you'll do solar. I loved it. You used my line. And I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
There's the plug. So it kind of created an objection. It was unnecessary. But then how you handled it, I was like, boom, like you smoothed that over pretty well because you pulled back. You're like, yeah, and it might not even be a good fit. Solar might not work for you. And you held your cards, which I was like, wow, most people would have caved, not held their cards.
My
You held
my
your
hope
cards.
was that they'd, like, if they're on the ball, if they're getting everything that I'm saying, I get to the numbers and they're like, wait, it's less than what we're paying. And I'd be
Exactly.
like,
You held
"Thank
your
you."
cards out. You
So
held your
that's what I was
cards
hoping
out,
for. But
which was smart. No, that's why I was like, oh, he held his cards, and so that he had the ace. When they're like, wait, it's
Right.
less, and you're like, that's your ace. That you're like, boom,
boom, yeah.
boom, which was good. If you like what you saw, there's plenty of more where that came from. Join the tribe and hit the button below. Subscribe today.